Hey there, how are you doing? I am on vacation in Italy, and I say vacation because that's really what I want it to be, but I'm actually here with a group of people, some of whom I've known for a couple of years, and I hold them very dear and near in my heart, and some other lovely people who I've just met for the first time. And one of the things that came up during the sessions that we've been having is this idea of boundaries. Now, we've talked about this in a number of different ways here at this event. Boundaries in our intimate relationships, about what you will and will not tolerate, but also boundaries in terms of managing our emotional energy. And this one is a big one for me because as a highly sensitive person, somebody who was told in her childhood, children are to be seen, not heard, I learned at a very early age to just watch and listen to people because I wasn't really allowed to speak and jump around and whatever. And I also learned to see energy and feel energy. And the thing that was really interesting was I would see people, hear the words that they were saying, and notice that their energy didn't match their words. So for example, someone could say, "Oh, honey, it's okay, I love you," excusing them for some error. But their energy, I could sense, was like showing they did not at all forgive them. So when we were talking here about this idea of emotional management and boundaries, it came up for me, this idea that you can be around someone and pick up on their happiness, right? When we've met somebody who's just fallen in love and they're all bubbly and they're all giddy and they're super happy, or anything good that happens to you, not just love, you can feel that energy. Just the same as when you go and you see someone who's in a really bad mood, and you can either feel their anger or you can feel their sadness. But there comes a point in our mature lives, I won't say adult because it happens at any point in our lives, when we get to a certain level of emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, when we decide that I'm not going to vomit my energetic stuff on you. Now, for those of us who may have a little bit of codependency in us, we also learned very early on, based on whatever happened in our childhood, that sometimes we didn't speak up or we didn't show our emotions for fear of what that might cause in our environment. I've had clients who grew up with alcoholic parents, and they knew that if they did any little thing to set off that parent, all hell would break loose. And so they learned to keep everything contained, to always be good, to never be noisy, to always have everything just so. But the thing that happens for many of us, that can happen, is that we stop sharing our truth. We get into a habit or a pattern of not sharing our truth because we're worried about the reaction from other people. We're worried about rejection, we're worried about pissing someone off, or we're worried about being labeled as, a bitch or a brat or whatever. And I definitely have experienced this in my own life, and it recently came up again. I didn't want to rock the boat in a certain situation. And so I was in just a feeling of almost total suppression. And if you've ever seen me live or heard me talk about this stuff, I believe that energy in motion, that's really what emotion is. It's energy in motion. It's meant to be in motion. It's not meant to be stagnated and blocked and stuffed away. And what happened to me is I felt like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be that girl. And so I stuffed some of my irritability or my dis-ease, my displeasure inward, to the point where I had a raging headache. Now, the headache was compounded by many things: a lack of food, being in, really, really hot weather, somewhere in the 90s for my Americans and the 30s for us over here in Europe. So I was in a really bad headspace, and I excused myself from the party, went back to my room, took some time to just reflect and let that energy flow. I was in one of those states where once again I thought, oh no, I don't want to even tell my best friend what I'm going through, because they know I'm here in Italy. I'm supposed to be having the time of my life. And I caught myself like, there you go again, not sharing your truth, not allowing that energy to flow so that it can be processed and recycled and moved on. And when I finally did reach out, I reached out to my girl, Helena Phillipson, my co-founder of the Real Self-Love movement. And I just had a hashtag confession moment. I said, oh my God, I'm over here in judgment, self-judgment, judgment of the situation, judgment of of this commitment that I've made. Wah! And she checked me, and I was like, I don't know if this is me being codependent. And she gave me some wisdom, and she said, no, honey. She is an expert in codependency. It's what she does in her business. She treats people with eating disorders and helps them really, yeah. So one of the things that she said was, this is about self-care. And you can't care for yourself unless you're really tuned into what you need and what your safe and healthy boundaries are. And communicating what you need in any given situation, while it may feel foreign to us, definitely the people pleasers, we have to remember that sharing our truth with the intention of caring for ourselves so that we can be our best when we are with other people and not vomit our stuff on them is healthy. And it was one of those moments when I realized, okay, I need to own it and I need to share it. And of course this had me in my head thinking, well, what are they going to think of me, and what is this going to mean? And it was a process. It took me through the night. But fortunately, I woke up with a fresh perspective. And through the night, the kind of message that came to me from my own heart, I believe, was, honey, you already know how much time you have spent, wasted, given away, worrying about what other people think. Stop it. And I almost didn't even want to make this video for you, because I'm like, oh, they're going to think this is so basic. Why would Andrea actually be caught up in that? But I'm being honest, because that's literally what I was feeling. I was feeling this sense of fearing the judgment and then judging myself. But what ended up happening for me was I did safely communicate my feelings and replaced some boundaries so that I could actually be fully present and be happy. Because then I started going into that anxious future casting, right? Anxiety is all this fear about the future. And I literally was thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen Sunday? When I go back home, am I going to look back on this time with so much regret because I wasted it, or I didn't soak up enough sun, I didn't get enough me time, I didn't, and I was like, stop. Today's Friday, we're not even near Sunday. Take back your power right now and quit giving up your energy to possibilities that don't exist, that may not ever exist. And reclaim your right to take care of yourself and to be happy and to choose what suits you. And as soon as I made that declaration to myself, I was just instantly kind of filled with this sense of relief, because that anxious energy was no longer within me. It was able to be released. And I think that the value in that for me was, I realized that I have to walk my talk. I can't tell you one thing, teach one thing, write about one thing, and then not live that thing. And we're human. We all have stuff that comes up. And yeah, so it was a really good exercise for me to investigate how my little egoic mind got triggered in this instance, and what I could do for my own well-being. So anyway, I don't know if this will serve you, but I felt the need to be honest a little vulnerable and transparent about my process. I wish you much love, my friend, and I do hope that you are enjoying a summer of authenticity for yourself. I hope that you are allowing yourself some self-care moments to get what you need and to fill up your cup so that you can go back into the world and into your relationships as the best version of yourself. So, much love from Radha in Chianti, Italy. I think I'll even show you a little bit of my view here. Gorgeous. Oh, the sun is so bright you can't even see it. Anyway, see you. Much love.